Alhamdulillah, نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين وبعد. So continue our lesson in the book Bulugu Al Maraam by Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, and we're discussing in particular Kitab al-Salat and the area regarding Sifat al-Salat. So last week's lesson that after coming back from Ramadan that we discussed concerning the matter regarding as-sujood. As before Ramadan we covered most of the matters pertaining to when we start the Salat, those things that should be in place, and most of those matters regarding a person being in a position of qiyam. So qiyam of the first of the position in Salat, but in that position there's many ahkam relates to al-qiyam. So we had what is to be said upon a person starting Salat, and the different aqwal regarding other things that some people mention can be said, but there is no per se delil for them. And also we discussed concerning how the person is to position himself, or the standing position how it should be regarding where the hand is to be placed. I will discuss that the Ahadeeth of Wa'il ibn Hujr regarding that the famous hadith that regarding the hands should be placed the right over the left, and also under the sadr, that hadith or part of the hadith is under some question. So the ulama they differ regarding where the hand is to be placed, whether below the belly button, above it, or on the chest. But from Allahu A'lam, from the as we mentioned, most of the hadith that discuss these matters they are under discussion. Now most of the hadith that discusses this matter they are under discussion. So some of the ulama or the person that mukhayyar, the person of our choice, that he can place the hand from above his navel up until his chest, up to the chest area, as they hold that there is no hadith that specifies regarding where the hand is to be placed. Then also we discuss concerning al-dua al-istiftah, what is to be said upon the opening supplication. I will mention that there's more than one supplication that can be said. So those are things they mentioned of the sunan mutanawwa. Those sunan after the salat are in acts of ibadah that one can do more than one thing, so it can be performed more than one way. And the best way, as mentioned by some ulama of them, Shaykh al-Islam, that the person either can combine or combine between all of them on different occasions. So rather than sticking to one particular system or one way all the time, because there's more than one way in which that thing can be done, it's best to kind of somewhat alternate, sometimes do this one and sometimes do this other way. Also we discussed concerning matters relating of the salat regarding of the Qiraat al-Fatiha, so meaning reciting of Surah al-Fatiha while in the salat. And as we mentioned, there's a difference in the ulama, and that those of the ulama who mentioned that it's a must to be done, whether the salat is sirriya or jahriya, whether the salat is done silently or it is done aloud. And those are going to somewhat distinguish between those ones that are done silently, that the person read his own Fatiha, the Imam and those behind him, and the ones that are done aloud, that it is sufficient, the recital of the Imam is sufficient for those behind, and the ones behind need not to read. So you have the discussion regarding Surah Al-Fatiha. Also we discuss regarding Fatiha of the Masahil, regarding that what is considered to be Surah Al-Fatiha, how many ayat in Surah Al-Fatiha. As some of the ulama they include Bismillah as a part of Fatiha, and those who do not. So we mentioned concerning the recital, and also discuss concerning of saying al-Basmala, which is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is this to be done aloud or to be done silently in those salawat that is read aloud? So we discussed concerning that particular matter. Then we went on regarding that and Qiraat al-Fatiha is of the arkan of the salat. Now whether the salat is and that will include any salat. So that will include salat al-fard, salat al-nafila, also as to be salat al-janaza and salat al-eid and the likes. So any salat that is performed, then reading of Surah Al-Fatiha is a must. Then we discuss concerning with that end of concerning saying Ameen at the end of the salat, that is something to be done, but also the caution regarding saying Ameen at the end of the salat is that what? Coinciding with the Imam. So the person, important thing is coincide with the Imam, not to precede the Imam. So a person wait until the Imam kind of somewhat say wala dhalin, and sometimes I pause a little but try to somewhat to if start right behind him, now but never to precede him. not to, I was said of the thing that is the common practice that in most cases that we do precede the Imam, or some of the people do precede the Imam. So I mentioned that matter due to the virtue of that particular act. Then also we discussed concerning those of the ulama who hold that for the person praying behind man Salah khalf al-Imam, that when should he say is Fatiha, for those who hold a must for those behind to say it. When should he say it? Now, so also discuss that matter. Also discuss also the matter regarding that reading after our Quran after Fatiha, after Surah Al-Fatiha. We mentioned that is after Sunnah after the Salat. So reading Fatiha is wajib, fard, or the arkan of the Salat. Anything addition to Fatiha, after Fatiha, then that's the Sunnah of the Salat, meaning that if the person wants to just, for example, Salatul Maghrib, was to read Al-Fatiha and then go to Ruku, his Salat is still acceptable and still valid.
Back up a piece, because I wasn't here last week.
Aye,
regarding the Ameen.
Aye.
If you're, well, firstly, can you give a summary, a brief summary of what Ameen really entails, what it means, the English rendition of Ameen, and if you're praying behind an Imam who doesn't tend to say Ameen, is it better not to say it, or just say it as you would?
So regarding the matter concerning one, concerning the meaning of Ameen, which is Allahumma yastajib, is the person saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to respond to this. Now, so the first like a dua, open Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what all the thing that is contained. Now, because Surah Al-Fatiha, it compiles of, is two parts, as the Prophet mentioned. Part are really so praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the second half regarding the person asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for various things. So Surah Al-Fatiha, because of the great content of Surah Al-Fatiha regarding what it contain, regarding concerning the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning part, and also acknowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the world, which concerning Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Then also the person praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding Asma wa Sifat, and the person asking for guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also the person that, so it consists of, they said Tawheed, all the different levels of Tawheed. And then also it concerns the person making dua and supplication, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide into the straight path of those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favor from the Anbiya and the Salihin and the likes. So following them as an example. And also Fatiha, it consists concerning matter concerning the person also trying to protect himself regarding falling into misguidance and dalal, which is the ways of those of the Yahud and Nasara. So at the end, one says Ameen, that the person trying to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to respond to this, to answer his supplication. So that's concerning the meaning of Ameen. Allahumma yastajib, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respond to this supplication. Then the next matter regarding if an Imam perchance do not per se may say Ameen aloud, in those that are said aloud, then the person behind then that the person said that he can say Ameen. Because in most cases Imam might say it, but maybe say it silently. So the person can say it aloud. The Sahaba used to say it aloud. But the person will wait until the Imam complete his Fatiha. If he knows that the norm, the common parts of that Imam, that he doesn't say it. Or if the person wish, that's concerning that particular matter. Then, so we discussed those matters in previous lesson. Then last week we reached concerning that the matter regarding, they were mentioned concerning reason of the hands in Salat, that there's various areas in the Salat that raising of the hands can be done at the start, after Ruku, or the start, the beginning of before Ruku, after Ruku, and also in the second Rakah coming up. So those are shows concern that's not raising of the hands are part of the acts of the Salat, and not just restricted just to the opening takbirah. Then also we discussed last week, so up to last week we had covered concerning of the matter concerning as mentioned by Ibn Hajar regarding matters relating to as we have ended concerning matters, some of the matter relating to Ruku, and also we discussed and coming up from Ruku. Then also went in last week's session that regarding reach up to the point of where as-sujud. So last week concerning discussing concerning as-sujud, where Ibn Hajar rahimahullah kind of somewhat outlined regarding as-sujud, how it is to be done correctly, how the person to perform as-sujud, and how the person should position himself in as-sujud. So I mentioned the hadith regarding the Prophet mentioned concerning that as mentioned the hadith of Ibn Abbas anhu قال أمرت أن أسجد على سبع أعظم. that we were commanded to prostrate upon 7 limbs. Then Islam, then he went on to explain those 7 limbs. So mentioned that, as he mentioned, Al-Jabha, the forehead, and we discussed concerning the forehead, that all the ulama are in agreement amongst Imam Al and others that the forehead must touch the ground. The forehead it's a must to touch the ground. Then we discussed that from that matter also, then Islam mentioned, then he ashara, then he pointed to his anf, to the nose, include that the nose is a part of the upper part of the face. So the face would include in prostration the forehead and also the nose touching the ground. But then we discussed that some of the imma that they are all concerned, that they are all in agreement regarding the forehead touching the ground, but every other limbs that they disagree concerning, at least some, but accept that some is wajib and some is not. But the call of those who say it is wajib, of the Hanabila, that all those 7 limbs must touch the ground and be firmly placed on the ground or on the ground. They mentioned yadain in the hadith. So I mentioned concerning yadain that yad can mean all of this, the entire hand. But it means a specific part. So even though the word is general regarding al-yad, now could mean concern a person that be like that down, or could be on his elbow as a part of the hand, isn't it? But by other hadith, it shows that what is intended. So we said that we also mentioned a principle regarding that studying of Islam and the Sunnah is that always try to combine all the texts on a particular topic so as to get the full picture of things. In some cases, just taking some may lead you to have a misunderstanding and come up with the wrong concept or what is not intended. So if we take this hadith by itself, yadain, then the person might say, no, I can put any part of my body on the ground from the hand. Could be the elbow, it could be here, the palm, now it could be right out. But from other ahadith, then it proves that, shows that what is actually intended by al-yadain is what? The palm. So that's what is intended, and that's by other ahadith, and some to be mentioned. They mention ruhbatayn, the elbow, and then on the atraf qadamayn, and then the atraf qadamayn intending on the toes. So those are the 7 limbs. And the 7 meaning the face and the nose being one, and the others. So we discussed that hadith and some of the matters relating to that. So then we now continue on regarding other matters that Ibn Hajar rahimahullah discussed regarding as-sujud. We discussed the hadith of Ibn Buhayna. Well, we covered that one.
Oh, no, we haven't done that one.
Okay, so we'll read that one and the one behind, one of Bara ibn Azib. Read both and then we'll discuss them together as they're somewhat linked together. Or one of them at a time, okay, one at a time.
Yeah. Narrated Ibn Buhayna radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam prostrated while praying, he used to spread out his arms so that the whiteness of his armpits would be visible, agreed upon.
I mentioned that, so that's the hadith regarding matters relating concerning as-sujud, regarding certain, also so the hadith here is to discuss concerning that, another matter regarding as-sujud, where all the person's position is hands in sujud. So I mentioned concerning journey concern to that as mentioned the hadith in the Bukhari or Muslim, and some mentioned that mentioned إذا سجد. So some mentioned إذا سجد. So I mentioned that the first that I mentioned كان إذا صلى. Our hadith here mentioned النبي Islam كان إذا صلى. So I mean that when he prayed, but he means in prayer more specifically regarding what? Sujud. As some narration mentioned inside Muslim mentioned إذا سجد, that when he prostrate. So even mentioned that إذا صلى in general when he prays, but other narration clarify that more specifically what is intended here to be discussed is regarding what in the position of sujud. So I mentioned regarding sujud concerning faraga bayna yaday, that the Prophet said that he would spread out his hands while in sujud. What they mentioned, the Shaykh concerned to know, Salat Prince that his hands would be apart, type of thing, in faraga bayna yaday. That mentioned concerned to know that they mention what is intended, that the hands that they are not up to the side, now to his jump, up to his side. So the Prophet that his hands are away and his hands or his palm is facing direction of the Qibla, type of thing. And then also mentioned So it's to show the person, the hadith is more discussing that one should not have his hands close to his side in the salat, not have his hands close to his side. Then I mentioned hatta yabdahu bayad ibtay'i. Then I mentioned the second matter regarding that in sujood, that they were able to see the Prophet's armpit. So from what is mentioned here, it showed the hadith that hands should be away from the side, and in the salat, the hands should be away from the person's side in the salat, and also it showed that hands, for them to see your armpit, that means the arms were up, the arms was up, not flat down. And also he mentions that from the hadith, Sheikh Sa'ad al-Shiti Hafidullah, it mentioned also, it shows concerning أن الإبت لا يجب تغطيته في الصلاة. That also the benefit from the hadith, it shows concerning the armpit, that it is not a must, that if it is seen by others, it doesn't nullify your salat. So it's not per se of those things, if seen or exposed, then the armpit, that a person's salat becomes invalid. As the companions, that they were able to see, and it showed that his hands were up. And from the hadith also it shows regarding that, it shows that concerning their garment, that they were worn, that the sleeves seemed to be wide enough that they could see underneath, or see what was there regarding the Prophet's armpit.
So does this of the showing of the armpit apply in Ruku as well? Because I've noticed some people when they're praying, that's so open, it's literally coming into my area where I'm praying.
Hey,
coming on to that.
Hey, so that's a general thing, that a person should raise his arms away from his side and above. Yeah. But says no, that's on the normal. But if it is zahma, if it's crowded and people are very tight, then the person, when you understand, then you won't have that space to maneuver unless you're going to somewhat obstruct others. So the person must be conscious of this. You understand that? Kind of somewhat then try to take a more moderate approach if there's others beside you and it's somewhat crowded. But if you're praying by yourself, then you can do as you wish. But with others, then be conscious of this and be more moderate. The main thing that hands is not too to the side and not per se too high up, where then you start to interfere with others.
So you do it in Ruku as well, as Shajud? So you do it in Ruku as well as...
What's that?
Like, for example, I'm in Ruku, I'm like this normally, I've seen some people like this, because I think they're trying to...
So we come to Ruku, now we're in Sujood still. We come to Ruku.
Okay.
So that's concerning that matter. So concerning of Ruku in Sujood, they want said no, those are the things to be mindful of. That our hands, that they are not per se, which is concerning that, as some hadith will discuss concerning that, not resembling certain type of animal. Where the person's arm is right, flat on the ground, so it should be raised. Another thing the Shaykh Hafidullah they discuss in brief, and others they discuss concerning that also in that some of the position that we mentioned before regarding that things that the ulama even concerning in those position, that even sujood more so concerning that the woman shall come like female rather than kind of somewhat position in that fashion where the arms are like up, that they can somewhat try to be put the hands in, tuck it in more for female. And so some mentioned that for female that those hadith applies to male, but as for female they should kind of somewhat, you said, tuck it in more so as not to expose themselves type of thing. And some who have taken that position, that it is thing or differentiate between the position of a female and that of male, are some of the fuqaha, a hadith that is mentioned by Abu Dawood, and about Abu Dawood Abuka Marasil hadith. So I mentioned hadith is hadith Marasil is those hadith that doesn't have a full complete isnad. So from a tabi, you understand, would be a few generations after narrating directly upon the Prophet Islam. Those are called Marasil. So in between that tabi who never see the Prophet Islam and was like a few generations behind, there's between that tabi and other narrators, but we don't know how many people. It could be sometime in cases up to 6 individuals in between that person and the Prophet Islam. So because of lack of knowledge of all the people in between that person and Prophet Islam, and how many people and their credibility, then those hadith that they are considered to be weak hadith. They are class of the category of hadith that are weak and cannot be. Then he mentioned that hadith is Murasil Abu Dawood and Nabi Sallam Kana Marra ala Imratain. The Prophet Sallam that he went by two ladies to Salliyan and they were praying. فقال الإسلام, so Prophet Sallam then he commented by saying, إذا سجدتما فضم بعض لحم إلى الأرض. That he mentioned that if they go into sujood, mean those two female, then he's kind of somewhat said that dhamma, that they should kind of somewhat tuck in. He said, mention the word ba'd al-lahm, part of their flesh, meaning concerning that their body towards the ground. Now, so kind of tucking themselves. Now, and not per se spread out their arms or raise their arms to what they mention. فَإِنَّ الْمَرْأَ فِي ذَلِكَ لَيْسَتْ كَالرَّجُلِ. So they mention that in the position of sujood, that a woman is not like, is similar to that of a man. But also it's not that hadith, that it is not authentic. That hadith is not authentic. As they sense in the hadith, even it is very weak. The hadith, it have also other narration, can someone try to mention it, said other narration, but all of them are weak and severe weakness.
Now they have a position on this.
Now so that we said some of the ulama. At this case we say some of the ulama. Now the Shaykh didn't specify which of them, but it's the view taken by some, and not only Ahnaf, but also others. Now, but you have a view that some of the ulama, they can somewhat distinguish between, in certain position, that between of a man and that of a woman. Now, I will mention before concerning standing, where the person hands not on their chest but below. But most of those stuff, or most of those matters, you may have some hadith as in this case, but their authenticity is questionable. In most of those cases, the distinction between a male and a female in the Salah. Now,
So some of the people that affiliate themselves to the Ahnaf, the Hanafis, they place the women, especially, they place their hands on above the chest.
aye.
Yeah, they never like this, was above the chest, and they do tuck up when they're in sujood.
Because I mentioned that that's a view that's taken by some of the ulama regarding those matters. So you might find that yes, people who do apply some of those things. But also it's not regarding this particular hadith that some may use, then as I said, as a base concerning a dalil, then the hadith, the evidence that comes to it is we said the question or daif, weak. So it's a general thing that applies to male, applies to female. But if you feel that she's and in most cases the female, they pray behind the male if they are together. But in the case you might, for example, they're praying in an area and men may pass by, then they can somewhat try not to expose themselves. Now, so if they are praying in an area that, for example, as an example, that they may be praying Salatul Jummah in an open hall. Now, and the entry, they will pray in the back, but the man have to come to the exit or the entry is from the back. And you have to go by them. Now, then they should be conscious of this. Now, and not kind of somewhat, if they think they need to kind of somewhat to protect themselves from being exposed a certain way, then be mindful of this. But in general concerns, and those that are concerned the benefit from that hadith, that kind of somewhat again regarding that kind of to outline that the hands that away from the body regarding in the salat. So that's concerning that particular hadith. So we'll go to the hadith that follows, aywa, the hadith of Bara ibn Azib.
Narrated Al-Bara bin Azib radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when you prostrate, place the palms of your hands on the ground and raise your elbows. Reported by Muslim.
Hey, so before we go to that, you said after that you mentioned that concern that they could view the Prophet Islam armpit. I will mention concern but he was still wearing full garment, but due to how the clothes was made, now you can see his armpit. So I said now that and it shows that that a Muslim generally concerned now when he goes to Salat, he kind of somewhat try to wear full cover. Now try to cover himself as fully as possible. But also if some part is exposed of the body or seen, it doesn't necessarily mean the person's Salat is invalid. But if certain part is exposed, then it could mean the person's Salat is invalid. But some part, if there's a certain part to be seen, it doesn't mean your salat is invalid. So the next hadith that that is mentioned here by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, the hadith concerning Bara ibn Azib رضي عنه قال رسول الله السلام إذا سجدت فدع كفيك وارفع مرفقيك. That he mentioned concerning an hadith rawahu Imam Muslim, that he mentioned concerning again regarding matter relating to al-sujud. So he mentioned Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentioned first hadith regarding Ibn Abbas regarding the general thing regarding the limbs that should be you should be very mindful of in the salah, which are those 7 limbs. Then somewhat outline other things to be mindful of, to give a perfect position regarding the salat. So it says no, those positions regarding the hands should be away from the body. If the opposite done, it doesn't make your salat invalid, but those things are the things concerning of the sunnah act of the salat. Clear? So the person hands is to the side, it doesn't mean your salat is invalid. Clear? So those are the things we call of the sunnah act of salat, the more mustahab, the more preferred things to be done. But if they were not done, your salat is not invalid. Clear? Aywa. So of those things also, the format to know the perfection of the salat in sujood, that also kind of somewhat to reinforce what was mentioned before in more clear detail. إذا سجدت, the Prophet mentioned as a direction instruction, إذا سجدت, that if you prostrate, فدا كفيك, then you should present that place your hands down, and then also on the palm, be on the palm of your hands, and also mention that you should lift your elbow off the ground. Lift your elbow. So they mentioned that this particular hadith in Bara ibn Azib al-Ansari, that they mentioned of the thing that can be taken again regarding that it proved as a proof of those of the ulama who all concerned that placing the hands on the ground, the hands should be firm on the ground, touching the ground, that this is something which is wajib. As the Prophet mentioned, he mentioned إذا سجدت فدع فعل الأمر. He's commanded him that if you prostrate, ensure that your kaf, and he didn't use the word yed this time, use the word kafay or kafek, that both your hand, the palm of your hand is on the ground. So we mentioned before, the hadith mentioned yadain, both hands, but in this case mentioned specified it should be the palm, both palms are on the ground. So both, it shows it strengthened the view of the ulama that owes that it's a must that the hands should be on touching the ground. Then I mentioned warfa mirfaqik, that also that your elbow should be raised up. Your elbow should be raised. So again, that hadith is going to somewhat to emphasize, to show the permissibility of the hands being on the ground while in sujood, and we already discussed that position. It strengthens this hadith. It strengthens the position of the hadith of Ibn Abbas regarding of those limbs to be on the ground, those 7 limbs to be on the ground. Of those one mentioned yadain, and this case he mentioned kafik, showing that what is intended is the palm of the hand, and this strengthens the view of the ulama mentioned before. And also the Prophet also ordered that you should raise your hands. But says no, do it. The hand should be off the ground, meaning the hand meaning the elbow. That the elbows should be off the ground. The Shaykh mentioned that from the Zahir, from what is apparent from the hadith, the apparent meaning from the hadith, we mentioned warafa, that to raise the elbows, that from the apparent meaning of hadith, it shows it's something which is haram to be done. And it's a must that you should raise your elbows off the ground. From the apparent meaning of the hadith, then he mentioned that with this though, Jumhur, majority of the ulama, they all concerning that this matter, and that it is not that to do so is not bad, it is something which is disliked and not totally haram. That's Jumhur. But we have those who hold that it is haram to do so.
You have to keep it flat like this.
To keep it flat, but to keep your elbows, to ensure that your elbows are above, off the ground. Okay. You understand? Jumhur mentioned that to make that it showed that to place them on the ground it would be haram, and it's a must to do so. Jumhur will owe that to place it flat on the ground or to touch the ground is something which is not per se totally haram but disliked to be done. That's the jumhur of the ulama. But a hadith can somewhat give a different meaning. And also the hadith can somewhat give concern that the matter regarding iftira, the person and the person hands being straight down on the ground, even the elbow, that it is something that also is disliked and something to be avoided. Now, is it to the level of haram or makruh? Then that's the next matter regarding that discussion. So that's concerning what can be extracted from those particular hadith. Aywa. So we go to the hadith.
So just to clarify that lifting the elbows is for the sunnah. That's it's not totally. If someone done it, it's not seen as haram.
And said that with the call of jumhur, that it is makruh, disliked to be done, but I wouldn't say if the person do so it's a haram, it's like something sinful. And even with that, even the both call saying that it wouldn't mean that your salat is invalid. So the person wants to even do it under taking the position that it's something haram to be done, your salat is still not considered to be invalid, but the reward becomes less because you're doing something that is disliked. Aywa.
Sheikh, I think there's Allahu A'lam, there is another hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said that clearly that you shouldn't put your elbows on the ground while you are doing sujood. Because I can't exactly remember the last of the hadith, but it means that it's you are acting like animals. You shouldn't be like animals.
Now there's a hadith of that meaning. So that's of the proof regarding those of the ulama who can somewhat even say that it's haram to be done. Now, where it says in the hadith, and the apparent of the hadith, that from this and other hadith regarding that it is you're resembling animal if you were to position yourself and your elbows on the ground and then is the strengthen that view of the Zahiri and the likes. So that's a discussion between the ulama, but from the apparent meaning of the hadith, it shows that something is haram to be done. From the apparent meaning of the hadith, is something is haram, but jumhur still it is something which is disliked. I also go back to the principle they follow. That is said the hadith of, we started out with which hadith? Remember the hadith we started out with?
When the Prophet told the man how to...
So it's the hadith that mentions, so those isn't the arkan, that they, but other hadith can somewhat may, you understand, is not only that is relied upon regarding all matters of salat. The hadith of musi as salat. The person who made errors in the salat, the person that do this, but so these hadith can somewhat regarding, yes, in the hadith, the person make error, give a general outline regarding sujood is to be done. These hadith now can somewhat now give us the detail regarding how it is to be done and not what not to be done. So the hadith that indicates it's haram, that view seems stronger than the view that of Jumhur saying it is disliked to be done. Both said in each case, done, if it is done, whether in the view of it is haram or it is makruh, then a person's salat is what? Still not invalid.
Go to the next.
Aywa.
Narrated Wa'il bin Hujr radiallahu anhu. Whenever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam bowed, he would spread out his fingers, and when he prostrated, he would bring his fingers together. Reported by Al-Hakim.
Aywa. So they mention this hadith regarding Wa'il ibn Hujr radiallahu anhu. And Nabi Islam كان إذا ركع فرج بين أصابعه. That mentioning also the Prophet that regarding concern this matter regarding, so I mentioned two matters and this hadith in the Al-Hakim. I will mention Hakim before. What's the thing that distinguishes Hakim and his collection? Hakim Mustadrak. Yeah. The Hakim. What's so special about Hakim's book that we mentioned before? Hakim, collection of hadith.
He collects everything.
Collected everything. No one collected everything.
No, on that particular subject.
Which subject?
The subject matter that you studied.
Which is?
Well, whatever you studied in that particular subject.
And Kubra.
Sunan al-Kubra.
The big one.
Okay.
Is that it?
So I said, okay, so we have Hakim, that he has a collection of hadith. Now, so I said, what's that collection called? You mentioned? Mustadrak. So you have a book called Mustadrak al-Hakim. Now, even the word Mustadrak is a meaning with the people of hadith.
Yeah, I was trying to get to that meaning.
But we said, what was the thing that overall though, was the thing that distinguished that book or kind of somewhat heighten its status somewhat?
It's what Brother Yunus said, isn't it?
Which is?
That's Kubra and Sugra.
That's
the small one and the big one.
Yeah, Kubra and Sugra, it will be names of books. That's in one which is Kubra, the bigger and the smaller version. So what is the thing that would distinguish or somewhat give some distinction, some importance to the work of Hakim?
From what I understood, is that he tries to fill in the gaps
Aywa.
between...
Okay, Bukhari and Muslim.
Yeah, which has been written before from the Sahihain. He tried to fill in the gaps.
Aywa.
So it's like if you have a road with a line demarcating, you must stay on this side. What he does is fill in the gaps so you get one continuous line.
Okay. Part two on the track. Okay, make it. So I said the Hakim of those concerning one, that Hakim rahimahullah, of the ulama, that so I said that of the two most authentic book that we have, Bukhari and Muslim. So we have other ulama who came from their students and those who came after them, right after them, who kind of somewhat, they said, okay, there's Ahadeeth. Bukhari and Muslim didn't collect everything. All the Ahadeeth. They just mentioned some hadith that day, some of the hadith. So what those ones did, because that Hakim, Mustadrak, was kind of somewhat collect a hadith with him that is on the same condition of Bukhari and Muslim that they did mention, according to him. So hadith that Bukhari and Muslim didn't mention in their collection. I'm going to find those hadith that's on that collection that they did mention. So they give us a next to the hadith that's supposed to be of the same authenticity of Bukhari and Muslim, according to Hakim. With me? So can somewhat, that book would be in that category of book that all the hadith supposed to be authentic. Because he said, because he can somewhat as a model is using Bukhari and Muslim. What you didn't capture, but on your condition that you laid on regarding authenticity on the highest level, I'm going to find those other hadith similar to this and put it in my book. So that's the importance of the work of Al-Hakim. Didn't per se achieve it fully, but he had the idea. Now he had the idea and the concept, as you might say. So, and also should consider the ulama that he wasn't per se just collecting what others did before. He noticed that Bukhari and Muslim, what you did, Jazakallah khairhuma, for collecting all those hadiths. So I'm going to still kind of follow your pathway, your footstep, but kind of somewhat a little bit different, which is, I'm going to get what you didn't get, or you didn't mention. With me?
You said he didn't complete. Is it he died before he completed?
No, so he completed the book, but he said not necessarily completed that he didn't per se lived up to the standard that he desired. Regarding that level of authenticity of Bukhari Muslim type of thing. So that's concerning Hakim. So when sometimes I mention Hakim, that's not Raw Hakim, it's narrated by Hakim. It can somewhat the hadith, it can somewhat could most likely be authentic. You with me? So, and because Hakim usually, so it's kind of somewhat indirectly saying that hadith is authentic, but we said because it didn't per se lived up to his to what he intended, the hadith they still need to be somewhat looked into. So not just rely upon a Hakim, but sometimes need to be looked into a little further. So the general hadith of Hakim is discussed concerning 2 points regarding the position. Our one is the position one fingers. So this concerning how the fingers are to be positioned in ruku and sujood. Now, how the person's position his fingers in ruku and sujood. So I mentioned concerning faragha that in ruku position they were separated apart. Now, so that per se, I would say that's the ideal situation. And with the position of ruku, that the hand shouldn't be per se away. You understand? It should be straight out or straight in line with the body. And this a person may go out due to maybe some form of something particular to him. Maybe some type of deformity, but that's how that's the best that he can do. With me? So the general thing that hand should be straight in line with the body, not per se out like this. If you find a person out like this, at a position. If the hand is out, usually the body is not as fully in position. So if the hand is fully in line, then everything becomes straight. If the hands are on the knees, now everything comes in line. But if it is, as we mentioned, we showed, if it is too up, then that's not the correct position. Or too far down, then that becomes not the correct position. Or if the hands are like out, you understand, then it might obstruct others. So everything should be, in this case, now we're talking about in line with the body. In line with the body.
I thought they were trying to adopt the same principle as sujood in Ruku.
I'm not sure what's the thing behind their act. Maybe something that, but we said no, the ideal position that everything is in line and straight. And the fingers apart. Before of a position you used to have, another position concerning that in Ruku, they used to have a position before they used to do. So rather than hands being, as we said, become now the final, because the act of Salah sometimes went through changes. Now, so like all things initially started, then certain changes occurred regarding the position of the Salat. Now, and the Salat. So the final position that it came down to, as we do today, as is done today, that's the final position, the Prophet that he died upon. Now, but before this calls a tatbiq, where the hands used to be inside. The hands used to be like under, they used to be inside the, between the legs type of thing. That used to be the position before in Ruku, but then it was changed. So that position became, we said, abrogated. And now what we do today is the practice to be applied. The practice to be applied. Then also he mentioned regarding the second method, regarding that in hal sujood, how the asabi', how the fingers are to be positioned. So in sujood, that the person tries to be on top of his toes, and the toes can somewhat trying to face the qibla. Now on top of the toes, and also the end that also they are closed and also facing the qibla. Now, so that's concerning those two positions.
Is there a difference of opinion on that?
No, so those are the sunnah of the salat. Concerning the
No, in terms of the fingers being together in sujood.
in sujood.
Ruku'.
That's based upon the hadith, and that's the position. Based upon the
No
hadith.
difference of opinion.
No, that's there's a difference. Based upon the hadith, that's the position.
Oh, on this particular hadith.
Hey, based upon the hadith, I'm not sure of any other hadith that says different. Now, some said no, but we said generally that is classed as the sunan act of the salat. So a person's hand was to open. We're not saying what you're doing is completely that you're going and said khilafu sunnah. So the person is doing contrary to the sunnah if the hands are open. You understand? But the salat is still, because the hadith indicate that they should be, we're instructed that they should be this way. Now, but they do, we said khilafu sunnah as something we're not going to say it's a bidah, but we said khilafu sunnah, or them being in this manner. And also the person somewhat within sujood that the hands that they're not like far out in a view. Now, but they can somewhat in line stay with your body, like the head up to that part, so just right above the head, but not too far out type of thing also. But a general thing concerning that adam, as the Shaykh mentioned, that is mashru', is something which is permissible. That's the permissible mustahab position, that the fingers are there together in the position of sujood. So that's concerning those matter regarding what did he mention? And they mentioned the next hadith.
Narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, I saw Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam praying while he sat cross-legged, reported by An-Nasai and Ibn Khuzaymah, created a Sahih.
Aywa. Did I mention concerning the hadith regarding after position regarding as-salat, also concerning the sitting position, that after, in between the sitting position in the salat, that he mentioned regarding Prophet yusalli murabbi'an, that he used to sit like now, a particular position, or sit up, what position they have there, what's the word they use in English?
Cross-legged.
Cross-legged
Yeah.
position, so like cross in the sense that one is under the other. Now, as we know, the sitting position type of thing, so that's concerning that position, so the person sit in that matter, where one leg is beneath the other.
The English description is very clear because I didn't see it like that when you read it. I didn't see it. It meant that top to under thing. It's cross-legged in English.
Cross-legged means something, yes. The legs are actually crossed behind.
Yeah.
But you said it's a normal position that we sit in, regarding one under the other.
It's just when you're finishing off the last.
This one is concerned that the position, because this hadith they use this hadith that we concern. This hadith regarding like in between the sitting position in sujood, and in this particular case regarding that as they discuss concerning the this hadith they use as concern as a deed concerning jalsat al-istiraha. This position regarding jalsat al-istiraha, that the in between the sujood, where you sit a little, they use this hadith as a proof that you should sit in that position.
So one leg should be under the other leg.
And the other leg, or the concerned that so one under the other. So they mention that the hadith also can apply to any of the sitting position. When you're in any sitting position in the salat, then that's the manner you should sit. Regarding in between the sajda, or when you have to sit, then you sit in that manner. So as the Sheikh mentioned, that then you have a little discussion. So regarding the sitting position, the salat will be of two. One they refer to al-yaftarish wal tawarruk, where the person sit. Yaftarish, when he sits, we said they say cross leg when he sits, like salat when he's making the first tashahhud. And then tawarruk, when he can still go, the other one go right underneath in the last position. But this hadith, it proves that the sitting position, that should be the person that sit up manner, the person sitting up and one leg beneath the other, as they said here, cross-legged.
What about when you raise one foot and put one under your backside?
This hadith give a general piece regarding that. He mentioned concerning mutawarrab, that is most of the person that you sit up in a certain manner, but as for the regarding the body is upright, and one leg under that. But as for that detail, this hadith didn't go into that. It just gives a general picture regarding the person sitting.
Is that a valid position though? The other one I mentioned, where you raise one foot.
Go into it then.
I can't really sit like that, but you raise one of the foot like this, and then you sit on the other one.
Isn't that it that you just did?
Is that one position that you sit?
Yeah, that's one of the positions.
So you raise
you have that one, you have the other one, the one that you're sitting on, it goes right underneath.
Okay.
On the other leg.
Both are valid?
That's those who distinguish, so you have the one that you just sat on, we can somewhat add one up.
Yeah.
And the other one, you are like sitting on the other one.
Yeah.
That one concerns the mention muftarish with a person that, and for example, the sitting when in tashahhud, the first tashahhud, then a person will sit in that position.
Okay.
Then they mention that some mention that position can be used for whether the first tashahhud or the last, in any of the tashahhud.
Yeah.
Then those who mention that iftirash can be done only if it's done in the first tashahhud. If the salah consists of two tashahhud, then the person sit in the other one of the one top under in the last one. Okay. So, and some mention whichever way is okay. Some mention whichever way is okay, but some can somewhat distinguish between the first and the last.
Yeah.
So just to double check, in between the prostration, so when you go down, your feet are coming together. So not going back in that position.
Because a quick, then now you can sit like that, because it's going to be a quick pause. So you can sit in that position, or just can someone just rest on both of them.
Okay.
You can rest on both of them, because that's a quick pause.
Yeah.
But the person can sit as in that position, that's the sitting position before you, not per se tashahud.
Yeah.
Because of the one in between prostration. And the one in between position, in between position is a dua to be said, but that's the position the person was sitting. And you can sit also, you can just sit, rest on both of them also. Now you can just rest on both of them, as in the cross, we said like cross. So then leave that and just sit on both of them.
So both can be done.
And that all those can be done.
So resting up.
Yeah, 'cause
Can you have your right foot completely back so it's not facing
sorry?
the right foot? Can it just be completely back, or they have to be facing the?
The right, the idea that they should be facing the Qibla. As the Prophet mentioned, they should be on your toes.
But if you have difficulty,
And so, okay, the person have difficulty regarding any matter, regarding certain position in the salat, then the person go to the position that is able, to the best of his ability. So like so the person who said that, so the general rules we're talking, the general rule is if the person have any difficulty in any particular position or any particular act in the salat, or then he does what is within his ability. Because sometimes a person might see a person and then they are far apart. Sometimes it could be the person have a disability where he can't do certain things, so he does what he's able. Then in that case there's no harm upon him and no criticism, or no blame, because you have a legitimate reason why he's not doing that thing, and he's doing that which is the closest to what he's able within his ability. Then that's so that Ali can still give a concern that a person generally sitting in the prostrate in the tashahhud, then to discuss as to what is to be said in those sitting position. Aywa, so come the hadith that comes after.
Narrated Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to say between the two prostrations.
Is that clock right? Is that clock right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to say between the two prostrations, Allahumma ighfirli, warhamni, wahdini, wa'afini, warzuqni. Reported by Al-Arba'a except An-Nasa'i, and this is in the wording of Abu Dawood. Al-Hakim graded it Sahih.
Aywa. So I mentioned a hadith here regarding the hadith Ibn Abbas that the Prophet kana yaqul bayna sajdatain, concerning what is to be said bayna sajdatain. So this hadith that is mentioned here is regarding what is to be said between both sajda. So that part the person going to the first sajda and then he comes up. Then there's a supplication to be said before he goes to the second sajda. So what is to be said while in that position, that sitting position in between sajdatain? One regarding the hadith is mentioned. There's some discussion regarding the authenticity of the hadith. So you have one.
Sorry, just the train says 9:22 and 9:48.
Oh, we're going because I have to get we get the 9:20 what?
22.
22. We're trying to catch that one then.
So then you're gonna pray.
Yeah, I'll pray when I go back into London. So regarding the hadith of Ibn Abbas here that is mentioned here, that the hadith, this particular hadith, is under some discussion. So they mentioned that now that and more so discussion regarding the hadith mentioned that كان يقول بين السجدتين اللهم اغفر لي وارحمني واهدني وعافني وارزقني. Most of the hadith are more authentic, everyone agree upon regarding authenticity. It goes by saying Allahumma aghfir li ثلاث مرات. So you have that narration that's saying Allahumma forgive me 3 times, or that narration is authentic. Everything after warhamni wahdini wa'afi warzuqni, then there's some discussion regarding that additional wording or part of the dua. So you find some who that all that was the additional stuff. Allahumma ighfirli is the authentic bit. Anything after is not authentic. And those who mention this hadith, that is Hasan. So you have a discussion between those who it is daif. So you have bit which is agreed upon, bit that is under discussion. And the bit that is under discussion, those who accept that all this is authentic, and those who accept that it is all of this additional warhamni wahdini wa'afini warzuqni, that it is not authentic. Clear? I'll repeat again. Repeat again.
Yeah.
Hey, so regarding concerning what is to be said. Now, regarding the supplication in between sajdatain, while the person is sitting position. Now, there's aspect of the hadith, so there's a supplication that is mentioned, or various supplications that are mentioned, even other wordings. So I mentioned that the hadith, the bit of the hadith that I mentioned, Allahumma aghfirli, that bit, everyone agreed that this to be done. After that bit, warhamni, wahdini, wa'afini, warzuqni, all that other bit, then there's a discussion regarding it being authentic or not. Its authenticity. So it's under question. Those who say it is authentic, and it's a level of Hassan, the hadith, a level of Hassan. As like some of the ulama criticize hadith, and those who mention that it is totally unauthentic, so the person just restrict himself to Allahumma aghfirli, and he can repeat this as much as possible. Nam, and those who mention the hadith, this addition is authentic, then all you can say all of this. Clear? So you have that discussion. Nam?
What other things are to be said?
There's a few little different wajbulini type of thing, so you have those other like wordings.
Is that be a feeling? Is that authentic?
Huh?
That would be a feeling.
And I said that bit is agreed upon is authentic. Allahumma Rabbi. Allahumma. What you just said? Rabbi.
Is that
It's Allahumma.
It's Allahumma.
It's almost the same.
Hey, almost the same. Allahumma. They might say, Rabbi Gfirli. Hey. So, you have some notion that may mention that bit. Nam. But that bit is the part which is acceptable with all. Everything after then, or what comes after, is discussed.
So if you don't say that Allahumma before the Rabbi Gfirli, is that?
And that said, the one said Allahumma Gfirli or Rabbi Gfirli, all that bit is authentic. Then what comes after is on the discussion. On the discussion, we said two groups, with a bit on the discussion from warhamni, wahdini to the end of it. You have those who all the hadith is, even though the hadith is on the discussion, they said the end result that all the hadith to be acceptable, Hasan, or Sahih. And those who all the hadith, for example, Sheikh Albani, and those who all the hadith it is not authentic. So some of the students, for example, some of the students of Sheikh Muqbil and that madrasa, all that additional bit is not authentic. With me? So you have the discussion.
So if you hold it, it's not authentic.
Sometimes if
you avoid it if you're taking that position.
If all that is clear, not authentic, then it's not for you to say it, because your audit is not authentic.
Sheikh Muqbil said it.
Yeah, some of his students, like someone who have explained Bulugu Maraam of that view. And so within that madrasa, the additional is under question, is questionable regarding the authenticity. But then like Sheikh Albani and others hold it to be Sahih or Hasan. But we said, so we said now, if depending on the view that you come, your outcome, now, and I said now that then the person, Alvin the Sheikh here, Sheikh Saad al-Shitri, that always concern a hadith, that saying that that is somewhat authentic type of thing, as some narrations. So one narration, or particular individual, Kamil ibn Ala Tamimi, is on a discussion. So you have some ulama who can somewhat that hold him to be acceptable, and others who hold otherwise.
He's in the chain of narration.
One of the narrators. So you have some narrators that they are on the discussion. So depending on how. So you have that discussion regarding some of the narrations narrated, and also called, like for example, An-Nasa'i laysa biqawi, is not someone strong, and also the hadith is narrated also mursala, not to the complete chain, but you also have other narration that come with a complete chain. Now, so is going through all of that, and then that the person that muhaddith then come to the result. Also, for us, for general, the hadith is under discussion. Now, due to some of the narrators, one, and also how it is narrated, being another. So depending on the outcome of that alim of hadith, I will say in this matter, the people who opinion with the word or ruling count are those people who are known to be kibar ulama of hadith. He might be a faqih that don't put in that category. You understand? And so the people that their word count in this matter with those people that are known to be the ulama of hadith. Nam. So that matter is on some aspect of the discussion. So based upon this is the general rule that of those that all concerning that this dua is to be said bayna sajdatain, and that's the view that is taken by jumhur of the ulama. Jumhur of the ulama, all that this is something which is mashru', permitted to be said, and mustahab, and then you'll find that there. But Ahmad rahimahullah, all that this supplication it is wajib to be said. Ahmad bin Hanbal regarding this supplication, he owes that it is wajib for you to say this supplication in the bayna sajdataini. Nam.
And that's for the full, all of it. The full supplication.
The full thing. Now call Rabbi Gfirli or Allahumma Aghfirli. So he will consider the first part that we say everyone is agreed upon. He owes that bit is wajib to be said. Now, Jumhur all even that bit, Rabbi Gfirli, Allahumma Gfirli, that is mustahab to be said. Now, so that's concerned that matter. And from the hadith, they said from the hadith or the supplication, it shows concerning that it discusses matter concerning ad-din wa dunya. Al-maghfirah, regarding matter concerning a person's seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgiveness, warhamni is mercy, wal-hidayah, wahdini, seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep you upon the straight path. Then I mentioned wa'afani, and to pardon me, warzuqni, and rizquna, as I mentioned, anything that benefit the person. So it could be thing of the dunya. So rizq could mean also things related to the dunya or for deen. Now, it could be ilm, which is a form of rizq, or it could be things regarding dunya. Understand the things of the so it shows that they are even that the person is supplicating for good in the dunya and in the akhirah. Good in his deen and also in his dunya. As mentioned, a rizq. So the other narration I mentioned, that mentioned wajburni, other mention wahdini, warfa'ani. So you have all those narrations that I mentioned.
What's the meaning of that?
Like for my shortcomings, kind of somewhat for my shortcomings, make up for my shortcomings. Now, so like a way of saying asking for pardon, in another way asking for pardon for your shortcomings. And warfa'ani, that's to raise you in degree and rank and keep you steadfast. So that's concerning that particular hadith. We'll stop here due to time, as even now starting to soon discuss so we stop the inshallah and continue with the remaining hadith in the next week. We'll meet again for next week, huh? For next week, okay.